What was your first moment of following your own compass instead of somebody else's?
It was my desire to get out of state. I just wanted to run away to Colorado. I probably knew by freshman year there was no way that a tuxedo store could exist in northern Colorado. What was my gamble? I had a $10,000 loan from my father and a $10,000 loan from the bank. At 22, I found myself in the brand new mall running a store. The turning point was the very next year. I thought, maybe you can do 2 of these. And we were able to grow that to 20 stores within the next few years. Getting divorced and realizing we separated the bridal business out. I had to recalibrate from there and figure out I had lost a partner, but I had a team. That first Christmas, the team shows up and decides that they're going to decorate my tree. These same guys kind of put together a little group of 10 business people to be each other's advisor in a kind of a board of directors.
I think the greatest gift an entrepreneur creates is the opportunities for the people that you hire. And you single-handedly changed my life. You lit a fire in me that I didn't know existed. Hi, I'm Nancy Girres, a Northern Colorado Vistage chair and executive coach. Welcome to Finding North. This podcast is for leaders who are tired of playing roles and ready to show up as themselves, who know there's a difference between success and fulfillment, and they want both. Each week, I talk with people who've had the courage to stop following someone else's compass and find their own. We go deep, we get real, and we explore what it actually takes to lead from your truth, because your North is calling, and it's time to listen. So let's begin. I have a very special guest with me today, as he is my mentor and friend, Mr. Mark Burke. Mark founded Mr. Neat's Formalwear while he was a college student at CSU. For 34 years, he was the leading provider of tuxedo rentals for the state of Colorado. And lucky for me, I got to work alongside him for 20 of those years. He's now retired in Fort Collins with his beautiful wife, Terry, and he winters in Palm Desert. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, Nancy.
It's so great to have you here today. This is going to be a little bit of a treat, for me and for our audience, in that you are one of, and probably the primary influences of my life. I mean, I think I tell you all the time, you quite literally changed my life by the opportunity of me working for you for so long and being my mentor. So thank you.
Nothing I can say to that other than thank you for allowing me to be part of your life too.
Aw, that's so sweet. We'll have a mutual love fest today. This will be great. But I want to kind of go back to the beginning and talk about your journey. As you know, my podcast is about finding North. And sometimes when we go to find our own North, we leave a few things behind. And I think you have a little experience with that. So I want to start with the first time that you remember having to make a decision that maybe wasn't popular with your family or everybody you knew on following what you knew was right for you. What would you equate that to? What was your first moment of following your own compass instead of somebody else's?
Well, I just think it was, my desire to get out of state, and not that Iowa wasn't a great place to grow up, but just wanted to run away to Colorado. And, fortunately was accepted to 3 schools out here. And after visiting all 3, picked Colorado State University because it was a beautiful Friday afternoon in March.
Aw, go Rams. I've sent a little
Rams.
money to Colorado State. That's all good. Okay, so yes, you left the great state of Iowa. We have that in common. We both left the great state of Iowa when we were both young and impressionable. So from the time you started college and you knew, when did you know you weren't going to leave, that you would stay in Colorado?
I probably knew by freshman year.
Wow.
It was just, you hit that perfect 73-degree day in February and call home, and they're 3 foot into snow. And it's like, I got to figure out how to stay in Colorado.
Uh-huh. You have the greatest story about how this idea of a formalwear shop began. Will you tell that story?
I'm the oldest of 5 brothers. We're all born within 6 years, and I was the first one to run away to Colorado State University. My brother Barry, who was a year behind me, followed me the next year. Brother Dan was 2 years behind, and he followed right after that. And I can remember my dad saying, out of state tuition is just kind of getting crazy. And they had started the tuxedo business in Iowa. Rental dry cleaners picked up the tuxedo rental business because they could handle their own product and take care of it and clean it. And,
Huh.
it made sense. Anyway, Dad said, why don't you rent an old house downtown? You and your brothers can live together and rent tuxedos out of the downstairs. I'm the oldest. I have my own room. I'm not sharing it with my brothers. Anyway, there was a brand new mall opening up in Fort Collins at that time, and I um, put on my polyester jacket, my polyester tie, and my platform shoes, and walked in and talked to them about leasing a space. And fortunately, they were naive enough to allow me to do that with my father's co-signature.
Of
And
course.
so at 22, I found myself in the brand new mall running a store.
Now, didn't you do this as a business
Oh, I'm
project?
sorry. Yeah. It was my senior year in college, and I did bring it up to my marketing professor that I was interested in this. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, let's make it a class project and see what they come up with. So the class came up with the fact that there was no way that a tuxedo store could exist in northern Colorado. Northern Colorado wasn't big enough. But the thing that we didn't take into effect in the 1974 was the fact that it drew from 150, 200-mile radius. And so even though the class said don't do it, what was my gamble? I had a $10,000 loan from my father and a $10,000 loan from the bank. We went ahead and did it. And the mall with the draw back then proved to be the difference.
Wow. So 20 grand is what it took you to start the business.
Yeah. And, today that would be hundreds of thousands of dollars, but
Right. Couldn't do it for 20 grand a day, but
you
it was
can't do anything with 20
1974.
grand today. Yeah.
I agree. All right. So you had a 34-year run at the end, 17 locations,
20.
Wyoming, 20, Wyoming down to Colorado Springs.
Right.
What was in the beginning? What was your dream? Was it to be that big? Was your,
You know, at 22, just running my own store, it
yeah,
was great. I had a business card that said I was president of Mr. D's Formalwear, but the staff included me, you know. I think the turning point was the very next year. A neighboring city, Greeley, came over with their brand new mall and said, "We want you to open a store." And all of a sudden, I thought, maybe you can do two of these. And I think my father was a little bit apprehensive at that point because we hadn't really turned a profit yet, but we got the second store, and that kind of put that entrepreneurship into me that I thought I wanted more.
yeah. And you didn't just stop at two, obviously. What is the most memorable store you opened and why? Like, what was a moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I have arrived now? What store?
Oh, um, back in those days, we had cause groups where we would visit other tuxedo companies around the country. And, we were all small back then. I mean, a big player had 5 stores. And so, we would visit each other. And I visited somebody in Kansas, and they had 5 tuxedo stores and 3 bridal stores. And they said that the mix was just absolutely perfect. You catch the bride and then you move them into the tuxedo side. And that kind of made sense to me. And I was newly married at that time. And so we jumped it up with 2 tuxedo stores and opened a bridal store, which later on proved not to be the greatest thing in the world, but it was a big move. And after
Yeah.
that, every time we opened a store, we would celebrate with a little party. And we were not a big company going from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, but every time we opened another store, we tried to make it a celebration.
Oh, that's awesome. So I know it's hard because I have a 20-year view of riding alongside you with this adventure. And I still want to know, just off the cuff, when you look back of 34 years of memories, what are the standouts? The moments that made it all worth? Because I know you had a lot of sleepless nights over all those years. Lots of things happened, economic crashes happened, people were skeptical, competitors came and went. What are the most memorable moments over 34 years that made it all worthwhile?
I think, well, I know what made it all worthwhile is when, you and I started working together in '88. We were working on building a team because when you came on board, we only had 6 stores.
Yeah.
And we were able to grow that to 20 stores within the next few years. And, got into an association with other bigger tuxedo companies by that time. With us growing to 20 stores, we were still the little kid when we were playing with stores or companies that had 150 stores or 50 stores in
Yeah.
California, 50 stores in Oregon. Um, but the respect that we got from them because we had a very strong team,
Yeah.
and be able to walk into a new store and bring the team in and get it all set up in a few days and then be ready to go. Those were always the most fun and exciting times.
I love that. I tell people all the time, if they're on a dream team, to enjoy every minute of it, because I think we only get to do that once. I think the dream team is an elusive, and there was a time, probably the mid 90s, that we had one of the greatest teams where we could finish each other's thoughts, we could challenge each other without anybody being sensitive about it. We were up to some pretty cool things and we had a lot of fun doing it. So love
It
that.
was,
Yeah.
and being able to be creative with, I mean, we didn't really have um, a cookie cutter mold of the stores.
Right.
Each store got to be a little bit different and a little bit special. Each new store was a little bit bigger and brighter, and we could bring the new ideas into it. And we took tuxedo rentals to a different level. I mean, we
Yeah.
weren't the little mom and pop tuxedo shop. We brought in, TVs and couches and, just tried to make it an experience and to
Yeah.
make it a really, you're getting married. So we want to make this part of your wedding day special.
Yeah.
And we were able to do that with the team that we created.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Okay. So, in the spirit of finding north and how many times we have to recalibrate, give me one of the times where you're moving in one direction and something happens and you had to completely recalibrate and reinvent yourself.
Um, that was probably 10 years into it, getting divorced
Mm.
and realizing we separated the bridal business out, and
Ah.
she took that and I took the tuxedos, and I had to recalibrate from there and figure out I'd lost a partner, but I had a team, and
Mm.
so I had to rely on the team a lot. And you know kind of a funny story, that first Christmas, I'm by myself and the team shows up and decides that they're going to decorate my tree. And,
Aw.
you know, that was a change.
That's pretty cool, though, having a team
Yeah.
that knows that's what you needed at that time.
Yeah.
I love that. And then you met Terry.
Met Terry. Um,
And she
think,
will claim you wouldn't have met me without Terry.
yeah. Well, that's true because she's pretty sure that she found you working at the clothing store and said, "There's somebody you got to hire because she's, you need that right hand person." And she's working at the clothing store. And you always tell the story that I came in and wouldn't work with you. I'd only work with the guys because obviously you didn't know my taste. That certainly changed, and we had to figure that out. But yeah, so Terry does take credit for finding you.
I love that. Okay, so when you think about all those years as an entrepreneur, I always think it takes a really special blend of grit and I'm going to say risk. When you think about the times when you were scared to death, even in the middle of it all and toward the end of it, what was the bigger, your grit, your risk tolerance? Like, how did you get through all that? Like, what were your strategies, or who did you lean on during those times to keep going?
Um, well, you and I have talked about this a lot. When it would have been right after my divorce, I was invited by some friends to go on a bike ride, and it was a bike ride across Colorado, and I'd never, ridden a bike 400 miles and bought a bike and, trained for 3 days to ride 400 miles. But these same guys, kind of put together a little group of 10 business people, an attorney and an accountant, a manufacturer. I was the retail guy, to be each other's advisor in a kind of a board of directors. And here we're still 38 years later, we still meet. Now everybody is retired, and we have to Zoom from Hawaii and Zoom from California and Zoom from wherever you are. But that group was kind of very instrumental in pushing me
Hmm.
harder, because when we initially got together, we had a lot of similar things, size wise and everything else. A couple of the guys got giant, and everybody ended up doing very well, but it was the competitive nature of this group that, okay, they're growing, I need to get another store, I need to do something else. And be able to walk into a group. We met once a month, 10 guys. So we met 10 times a year. And then we had 1 month off, and then we had a Christmas party. But, when it was your month, you brought all your problems onto the table. This is what I need. I'm thinking about buying this company. I'm thinking about, promoting this person. I'm thinking about, building a warehouse,
Yeah.
all these things. You could come in with this group, and this group would then, we all ended up being literally best friends, would talk to you like a friend. And
Yeah.
that's a stupid move, Mark, or, you know, that's a good move, Mark. I mean, so they would be wonderful on that end about giving you the right information that you needed. So it was having a board of directors that you could really trust.
Yeah.
And whenever you needed them, you could call them. And, after 38 years, we've been through weddings and divorces and sickness and death and graduations and babies and grandbabies. And
Hmm.
we share ridiculous amounts of information. Here's my full P&L. Well, you don't even share your full P&L with the bank. I mean,
Yeah.
let alone, passing it out to 9 other friends.
It's a lot of life together. And I would think, I mean, it is a huge testament to the power of peers. And also, I mean, we'll talk a little bit about how I found Vistage, but the whole idea of, I think the initial intention was we need to make a better business together. And wouldn't that be great to do that in a community rather than all us trying to figure it out alone? But you stayed because of the intense personal relationships and doing life together, because that's what happens when you share business strategies and problems and you help people along through the darkest days. Then you're also there for the brightest ones. And I mean, it's a beautiful story, and it's unbelievable, honestly, with the self-facilitated peer group that y'all have maintained this over all these years, because many try and fail. And it's a real testament to you guys' commitment to each other. It's super impressive. Even though you never let any women in, I just want to just say that, like, even though it was a dude's thing, maybe that's the secret. I don't know.
I think 38 years ago, yeah, it was primarily a dude's thing.
Yeah.
Um, the amazing thing, we had so many associates and friends that looked at our group and were like, "How did you guys do this?
Yeah.
We want to create the same thing."
Yeah.
We got a lucky group of 10 guys that happened. Nobody really knew each other. They got together, and there was a symmetry that happened that was just totally amazing. And the
Yeah.
fact that 8 of us, still on a regular basis try and get together socially, or we have Zoom calls since we can't get together
Yeah.
as often as we would. But you still have a problem, you bring it up,
Yeah.
and you talk about those things.
I love it. And after all those years of trust and camaraderie, I can't imagine there's very many topics you can't talk about, which is pretty great.
I don't. There's nothing that
Mm,
we can't talk about.
I love it. Well, if it wasn't for you, I would have never found Vistage, which has been a life altering peer group for me. And I think it was 2003. You handed me a Vistage brochure and said, I don't know what else I'm going to teach you. And, check this out. And I just remember going, what an incredible gift to have a CEO hand you. I mean, I was your president at the time, but be able to hand me this opportunity to also go sit in a room where I was totally over my skis, definitely the smallest company in that room, and be able to share perspectives and ideas with non-competing. I mean, it just opened my eyes to, holy cow, look at all these ways people make money. This is crazy. And they would ask me the craziest questions that would help us formulate between what your peer group was saying and my peer group was saying to make even richer, probably more powerful decision that we ended up doing some cool stuff with. So thank you. Because without that experience as a member, I wouldn't have known what looking at being a Vistage chair would be like. And it has absolutely changed my life both times. So that was a great gift. But you knew because you knew what it did for you.
Well, the great thing was, I had my group, and then you had your group with that, and the what we were able to share and glean from the other members was just amazing.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I think that it really matters the mentors we have in our life and the people that we aspire um, to honor because of things that they did or give to us. Your relationship with your dad's probably one of my favorites. Will you talk a little bit about what he meant to you as a mentor and a father?
Um, now with my kids and grandkids, um, okay, this is where you said it. Yeah, okay. Uh, he meant everything to me, and I don't think I appreciated it until later in life
Mm,
because I literally ran away from Iowa when I was 18, 19 years old.
yeah,
Uh, but he was smart enough that when I was in college, gave me the opportunity to kind of get into the tuxedo business. He was in the dry cleaning business, which, no pun intended, I did not want to be in that dirty business at all.
right?
Um, but it had made him successful, and he was looking for a way to help me out. So when he suggested that we do tuxedos in Colorado, and then gave me the $10,000 loan, and then co-signed for the other $10,000 to get into this, um, it was life changing for me because
Yeah,
all of a sudden, 4 years in college, what was I going to do? I couldn't be the bartender that everybody was doing for a while. I mean, I had to do something, and for 2 years it was kind of fun, and then all of a sudden the life changing thing was I got married, and when you get married, all of a sudden you have to be a little bit more into that. And the great thing about dad was he was pretty conservative, and every time I wanted to do a new store, he'd be like, "Are you sure? You got to be careful." But he later appreciated the fact that you know he gave me that entrepreneurial spirit, and I watched how hard he worked.
yeah,
He was a very hardworking man, but he also learned how to delegate responsibility and grow his company. And then when he brought my younger brothers into that side of the company, that was fine because I was Colorado, and that was where I wanted to be.
yeah. What do you think made him most proud about you?
Um, you were instrumental in throwing that 25th anniversary party, and getting the whole company together out to the country club, and celebrating with a great dinner, and seeing the team that we had created, um, and the respect that we had in our industry. um, I think it made him tremendously proud.
Yeah, that was a magical night.
It was a very wonderful night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I got to meet him a lot of times over the years. And I know he was maybe a little more cautious in the early days with telling you those words exactly. And he never let an opportunity go by without telling me how amazing you were and how proud he was of you. So You knew, I know you know, and I think, for a son and a dad, especially like your relationship, it says a lot to have a father believe in you, probably even before you really knew what you were capable of doing, even though you had him as a role model. And I just think, hats off to Vince, like as pretty powerful to have that investment of both time, love, actual money to say, I believe in you, son. You can do this. I mean, it's not a lot of people have that. And
Well,
that was cool.
he had been the ninth out of 10 kids and really he never had a conversation with his father ever.
Oh,
Raised by older sisters and older brothers and things
mm,
like that. So he was not, warm and fuzzy. He didn't say "I love you" a lot, and it wasn't until later in life, actually, that we lost my mom at a very young age due to a heart transplant. But his second wife, great lady Joanne, she said, "I'm tired of hearing from your father how great you are. I need to meet you."
oh,
you know I hadn't heard that, but
wow.
hearing it from her, I knew he really cared. It
Yeah.
just, it was later in life that he could tell me a little bit more about that stuff.
Well, that generation didn't really learn that either. So, how has that changed how you show up as a dad? How did that shape you being a father?
um Certainly it's changed me. I mean, Jack is pretty young. He's only 32 now. And Julie is exceptional. I got to clarify that a little bit. I didn't have kids from my first marriage, but the second marriage, I was able to get two really great daughters. And then my wife Terry said, your own child." And I was like, "I'm not sure I do," but you know, uh, the relationship that I have with Jack right now, I mean, it's easy for us to hug. "I love you. I respect you.
Mm,
I'm proud of what you're doing." I try and tell him on a regular basis how proud
awesome.
I am of what he's doing and what he's accomplished. And um, it's just made a big difference. But I, waited to have my own son, until I was a little bit older, so that probably helped. I had matured a little bit by that time.
And now he's a father.
Yeah, 10-month old, third grandchild, Palmer, and she's amazing. So trying to
Mm,
teach her how to not lick the glass on my wine room is going to take a few years, but
good luck with that.
yeah.
How has grandparenting changed you?
Oh, it's such a privilege because not everybody gets grandchildren anymore.
Yeah.
It, you know, you focus on them. You're not focusing on you. It's just so wonderful to see them grow up, and uh, it's an amazing experience. And of course, Terry, she's the world's best momo.
Yeah.
Uh, whatever you want, whenever you want it, it's all there.
All right. What's been the biggest surprise or gift of retirement, my friend?
Um, the gift is just settling in and not having to worry about a lot of the day-to-day stuff that we got to worry about at the end of the careers and things. I miss being close to people, but I also don't miss the fact that at our max we had over 200 employees, and I can't imagine trying to find 200 employees to work retail today. It's just that part scares me all the time.
Yeah.
uh, the nice thing about retirement is we're comfortable enough that we can do the things we want. If we want to travel a little bit, or our big thing is coming down to Palm Desert for 3 months and getting out of the Colorado winter, which there was no winter this
Yeah, we
year.
missed the memo on winter.
There was no winter this year.
Oh,
um, Getting to spend quality time with the kids, and again, just the freedom. Every day is Saturday. That's
every
kind
day
of
is Saturday. I have a few
every.
years away from that. So,
You're going to be closer than you think. But every day, every day is Saturday, and so that part is fun. But I do miss the routine of, getting up in the morning and putting on my armor, which for me was a different suit every day, and, being able to march into the office, feeling like something important was going to happen. That part I miss.
Yeah. It's a pretty special time of your life, no doubt about it.
No, we hit some of the key times. The formal business, has changed dramatically in the last few years. And it's not really what it was in the 90s or the early 2000s. But, when we were at our peak, it was fun traveling, being entertained, you know, being treated like you were an important part of the industry that was really cool.
Yeah. I had some great meals on your
Oh,
dime. I did.
some great meals and some great wine, and we got to travel to every major city, New York and LA and
Yeah.
San Francisco and New Orleans, and just going to all
Yeah.
these different conventions in Chicago and St.
Yeah.
Louis. That was a big perk back then, when small businesses could take advantage of some of the tax breaks that they gave out to businesses that were trying to
Yeah.
grow and employ people.
No doubt. Yeah. That was my first trip to New York. I've been back a lot of times since then. But I
Well,
found my love of New York from that first trip.
and we had a 10-year run where we were there every summer for
Yeah. It was
a
pretty
week.
great.
It was fun.
It was
Yeah.
amazing. I would be remiss not to mention that I think that the greatest gift an entrepreneur creates is the opportunities for the people that you hire. And you single handedly changed my life. Now I'm going to get choked up. Um, that ability to believe into someone before they believe in themselves. Before you, I had never had that experience. I didn't grow up in a family where you should do anything except, get married to a farmer and have some babies. And so I didn't know what I was capable of. I didn't know what was possible for me. And long before I knew I could manage people, I could lead a company, I could be the president of at that point, $7 million organization. That wasn't a dream of mine. You helped create that opportunity, and you lit a fire in me that I didn't know existed. And when I think about all the lives I've been able to touch because of how that started, I know you're proud of a lot of things, and I hope you're proud of me because
Great.
it's really, truly was a life changing experience for me. And I'm just forever grateful for you. So thank you.
And that just comes right back around, because you taught me so many things, as far as the people skills and being able to work
Mm.
with people. Um, I never tried to be intimidating, but obviously,
You
walk
didn't
in with
really
my,
have to try.
yeah. Um, it's just, and I think at last count, after the 34 years of the tuxedo business and 12 more years building the dry cleaning business after that, um, 3 or 4 thousand employees that came
Yeah.
through the company. And, to this day, you and I are both still getting thanked by employees. You changed my life.
Yeah.
You were so anal about how you wanted things done that I became that way, and I
Right.
became a great boss, and I became a
Right.
great manager, and
Yeah.
I learned how to manage people. And we've got people that have come through that have gone on to do great things, and
Yep.
some even became doctors and lawyers and successful business people. So
Well, I do tease Kevin Unger, CEO of UC all the time that he was cleaning shoes while he was in high school at Mr. Needs
yeah.
Formalwear in that mall, in Foothills Mall. So he loves it that I won't ever let him forget where he started.
Well, yeah, that is true. I mean, we have so many people, especially the people, when we got our core team built. I mean, there were people that, like you, 20 years. There was a
Mhm.
whole crew that were in that 10 to 15 to 20-year
Yeah.
range that we were together.
Yeah.
And had the world not changed, excuse me, um, where Formalwear was headed, that team ran 20 stores. We could have ran 200.
Yeah.
But, you know. Business
Phenomenal
changed.
memories. Yes, it does. And life goes on. So, but luckily for me, we live a mile apart and I still get to see you whenever I want to, except in the winter when you're out gallivanting around Palm Desert. So,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being with me today and for all the things. I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate and, love the time we've had together for now 34 years.
uh,
Wait,
it's,
oh, 38?
yeah, I was going to say it's
30,
more than that. Yeah, there you go. All right.
38 years. You were like 12 when you started.
Not quite. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mark. Appreciate you being with us.
Thank
All
you.
right.
It's my
For those
pleasure.
of Thank you. For those of you listening, here's a reflection question for the week. Whose north have you been following? And what would change if you trusted your own compass? Sit with that. If this resonated, share it. And if you're ready to do deeper work, then find me at nancygirres.com. Keep calibrating. Your north is calling. Thank you.